Smash the like button on this video, finally! I can say that again. Arsenal at the summit of the Premier League. Man, it looks good. Can't get carried away. We know that might change in 24 hours. But ultimately, listen, loving it. Absolutely loving the result that we got today. Dealing with the pressure of playing first this time, which I think is much less. I think it suits us more than playing after all the other teams have won. But thank God, as Arsenal fans, we can sit there and relax and watch what is going to be an incredible game between Liverpool and Man City tomorrow. Because it would have been hell if we hadn't have won today and we see that game unfold and, whatever happens in that game, we would have been looking at it, no matter what the result, thinking we've missed out on a massive opportunity here. We know we are going to gain ground on one of those two teams, no matter what the result next in their game tomorrow. Hopefully, if they draw, we gain ground on both of them. But let me know what you want to see and tell me why in the comments below. What result do you want from Liverpool Man City tomorrow? As far as I'm concerned, the team that I'm really, really scared of is still Man City. So I almost kind of feel like I want to draw. But if I had to choose one team to win that game, I think it gives us more chance of winning the league if Liverpool win that game tomorrow. Because I think there's more likelihood of them slipping up. But that's just me. Let me know your thoughts. What result you want to see in that game tomorrow. All I know is that, listen, no matter what happens, Arsenal have done their job today. And there was so much to talk about in that game. And we have to start on the obvious, the really, really obvious one. And that is Aaron Ramsdale. Because at the start of the season, I personally think Mikel Arteta didn't do either goalkeeper any favours with how he dealt with that. He wasn't absolutely conclusive with who his first choice was. And I think he should have put that conversation to bed for me. He should have just said, it's David Raya. We've got a great backup in Ramsdale, but Raya's my number one. Done. And that's it. Deal with it. He didn't do that. And what that meant, I felt like, put pressure on both goalkeepers. And at the start, David Raya, he had some dodgy moments. He got criticised publicly by pundits, for example, for it. And, obviously he recovered. And now we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because David Raya, I don't think he's been spectacular, but he's been just solid. He's been absolutely solid. No one can say he's done a bad job. He's been a very, very good keeper for Arsenal this season. Just like Aaron Ramsdale was last season. But when you've got two keepers and no one really knows where they're standing, there's all this talk about it every single week, I think it puts pressure on both keepers. Now today, what we saw with Aaron Ramsdale was one keeper under pressure. And I don't think Aaron Ramsdale makes that mistake if he knows he's got everyone's backing and he's the number one. And that's why, because Raya now knows that and everyone else knows it and we don't talk about it, Raya has got that sort of breathing space to just be natural. But I think Aaron Ramsdale, that's in his head. He would have been looking at this fixture weeks in advance, knowing I can play that game. I can finally play a game. And can you imagine how desperate he would have been for a clean sheet and everything in this game? I'm gutted for him that he made such an awful, awful mistake. And as much as I love Ramsdale, as much as I want the best for him, I'm not going to pussyfoot around the fact that that was a shocker. And do you know what it does? If there was any debate still remaining, and let's say, for example, Aaron Ramsdale had an unbelievable game today, and actually, if he didn't make that mistake, with the other saves that he pulled off, maybe that would have been regarded as an unbelievable game from him. If he had kept a clean sheet, made that save from Ivan Toney, I mean, what an effort that was. That would have been goal of the season if that went in. The way he hit it, and brilliant save from Ramsdale. And I don't think his positioning was bad, actually. I guess the fact that he was able to make the save shows that his positioning was okay. It was just such a good strike, such a unexpected strike from Ivan Toney. I mean, XG on that must have been 0.0001. I mean, crazy effort. Anyway, and then the second save from the header, two brilliant saves. So if he hadn't made the mistake, maybe that debate would have reared its head again, that Ramsdale's every bit as good as Raya. But actually what's happened today for me absolutely shuts that chapter. Unless David Raya starts making some serious mistakes, and not just one or two, I'm talking about compounding mistakes with mistakes. I think what Aaron Ramsdale has proved today is that Raya should be the number one. And I think that's really harsh on Aaron Ramsdale, but I think that's going to be the conclusion that people draw. I think it's a slightly harsh conclusion because of what I mentioned earlier, that Aaron Ramsdale came into this game almost in his own head, under loads and loads of pressure, not being able to be natural. I actually still believe that if Ramsdale had been our number one this season, Raya has done nothing that Ramsdale wasn't already doing last season. But hey, you can't argue with it. Raya's done brilliantly. Ramsdale's come in, had his chance, and made a massive, massive mistake. And yes, people will say, oh, but he pulled off some brilliant saves as well, which I already mentioned. But you're meant to do that anyway. You're not meant to do that. And yeah, I mean, Wissa, he knew exactly what he was doing. Even the fact that he almost overshot the challenge. He didn't go for Ramsdale. He went for exactly where he thought the ball was going to go. And trust me, he has gone for it in a way that he knows that if the ball does get played there, it's bouncing into the goal. That's how he's overcommitted to the challenge to make sure the ball comes off of him into the goal. So brilliant all round from Wissa. But Ramsdale, man, the way he took those stuttered steps prior to trying to release the ball, you know, maybe it is just a case of him trying too hard instead of just kicking it long. He wanted to make sure he found an Arsenal player with that. And that's why he took those stuttered steps to be able to, take the run-up he needed to play the pass that he wanted rather than just taking evasive action. Gutted for him. Anyway, that's that. Won't carry on banging on about that. One thing I want to talk about today is, I don't usually talk about refs, and I especially don't like talking about refs when we lose, because I rather look at what we should have done differently. But seeing as we won this game, I want to say one thing. The shoulder pull on Trossard, penalty. The shirt pull on Gabriel, penalty. I just don't understand how VAR can get these so wrong. You might say, oh, they would have been soft. The only reason they would have been soft is because of how unnecessary they were. Brentford defenders taking massive risks by doing that when they could have just tried to defend properly. The pull on the shoulder is absolutely a penalty, and for me, so's Gabriel, where he's had his shirt pulled as well. And it's so frustrating that had we not scored that goal, on another day, that massively costs us. And can you imagine the difference that makes in the title race? Again, let me know in the comments below whether you agree with me or whether you think they weren't penalties. Now, I'm going to move on and say also that, on the other hand, Havertz' dive in the second half as well, absolutely awful. I'm not just going to be biased here and say, oh, we should have got this, we should have got that. Havertz should have got a yellow card for that dive. But you know what? I was thinking about that in the game, and I'm a bit old school in that sense. I remember football before everyone started diving, and I hate diving. I despise it. But the fact that Havertz didn't even get a yellow card for it just tells its own story. Football, since diving became more and more common in football, the way it's been treated, the way it's been officiated, they've incentivized diving. Simple as that. They've incentivized it. Referees don't give it to you unless you fall. And when you do dive, half the time they don't even give you a yellow card. I said many, many years ago that with blatant acts of simulation, they should start giving bans. Act of simulation, 1 game ban. You do it twice in the season, 3 game ban. Do it again, 5 game ban. You imagine someone dives 3 times and they've missed 9 games. They're going to stop diving. Instead, they've allowed it to be a massive part of football. And while I hate it, I was thinking about it during the game, and actually part of the reason Arsenal are such a difficult team to play against, part of why we're so competitive, part of why we are just so effective, is because we have embraced all of the darker arts of the game. That's crowding the referee, that's appealing, that's diving, that's winning soft free kicks, all of that sort of stuff. That's the time wasting. We do it all. We do. And I don't like seeing it, but that is what football has become. And it's honestly a case of if you can't beat them, join them. Because under Arsene Wenger, we suffered so much because I felt like we had this principled mentality. And actually, do you know what? It gets you nowhere. So I like it now when I see us benefit from it. Don't get me wrong, I don't like it from a purist point of view, but when it's my own team, I don't care how we win. I want all the luck. I want all the bad decisions in our favour. I want all of the darker arts employed by us because I just want to win the league. It's been 20 years. So listen, we won it today. We employed some of the darker arts. Actually, that's not what won us the game. And you know what? I'll leave you with one last thing, right? The level of faith I've got in this team, I'm not just saying this, I swear to you. I looked at the clock of the game at one point. It was 82 minutes, 45 seconds. And I said to myself, do you think Arsenal are going to win this game? 82 minutes, 45 seconds gone. And I just said to myself, yeah, I do. I really, truly believe Arsenal will win this game. At no point today did I think we're not going to get the 3 points. And sure enough, Kai Havertz scores again. And listen, Kai Havertz he's such a interesting player because he's like, still not someone that I feel like is convincing, but look at his form. Look at how much he's contributed. And you know what? I just think it's a style of play thing. I think it's the way that he's deployed in this system. It's just his the way he plays the game as well makes him harder to appreciate wholeheartedly in the Premier League than someone like Declan Rice. But we have to look at Kai Havertz and say, do you know what? You have had a massive impact this season. He's been brilliant in recent games. He scored really, really important goals. And yes, he started off awfully and being really ineffective. But now he is doing the business. So Kai Havertz, well done. Arteta, well done for creating this team and motivating them today with a level of flipping fire that I loved seeing. Gabriel today, he was a beast. He was a problem all game. He was so fired up. Loved it. Declan Rice, again, brilliant. The shot, my God, that hit the angle of post and bar. What an effort that was. Overall, just absolutely over the moon with today because we've won easy recently. Today we proved we can win difficult. And that's what potential title winners need to be able to do. Up the Arsenal.